Hello everybody, my name is Peter Slattery, and today I'm going to show you what it's like to be a math major at Rutgers University, New Brunswick. Alright, so I know that the math major and math in general can get a really bad rap sometimes, whether it be people had a bad experience with math from a certain teacher or whatever, or it's just extremely difficult. However, I think that a lot of people have a morbid curiosity about it, namely like they would never touch it with a 9-foot pole, but they kind of want to see like what is the math major all about? So how I'm going to show you guys that first is through a bunch of exams that I have here. So these are all the exams, mostly all that I took throughout my time at Rutgers, and I'll go through some of them and show you some of the classes that I had to take. All right, so first to start off, we're going to go over some of the required math courses. So right up here is Calc 3. There's a lot of integrals here. There's a lot of manipulating variables and equations here to get what you want. Namely, you're solving for, volumes and surface areas and all that, but a lot of integral stuff. The next required class is a class called linear algebra. And in this class, you are basically dealing with these things called matrices and vectors, and you want to do math with them. So you want to figure out, what's the length of these vectors, how they can be used to solve different types of equations. Finally, we have what is usually known as the most difficult class, real analysis. This is basically all the stuff you cover in Calc 1, except through a proof-based lens. So what that means is that you just have to prove things logically, and you can't just say, oh, the derivative of x squared is 2x. You have to prove that that is the case. So this is an example. State the Heine-Borel theorem, and then using that theorem, show why this is true. And yeah, that's what you got to do. Now, another important thing I should note is that a lot of people think that calculus is the top of the top when it comes to the math major. I mean, naturally, anyone who went to high school knows that AP Calc or calculus was it. However, when you do the math major, something interesting happens. Once you get past all these required classes that I just talked about, you can kind of branch out into whatever you want. You can do stuff further in analysis. You can do complex analysis. You can go more in depth into the math and talk about, abstract algebra. Or you can go into more applied math, cryptography or applied physics. So the natural question is, what does a math major do, for homework, for tests and all that? And a lot of people might think, oh, it's just complicated equations, like trying to solve for things or trying to do all this stuff with complicated integrals or derivatives. However, it's not really the case. When you get past those types of courses like Calc 4, Calc 3, Calc 4, whatever, you start learning this thing called proofwriting. And proofwriting is basically you're given a statement and you're trying to prove it. So it's usually an if-then statement. I'm going to do an example for you right now. All right, so for this proof, it's going to be very, very simple. But I'm going to say that if I have a number A and it's less than a number B, then I want to show that the average of these two numbers is in between. So namely, this. And now this sounds pretty obvious. So for an example, let's say I have 6 and I have the number 8. What's the average? It's 7. 6 is less than 7 is less than 8. Sounds pretty simple, but there is a proof for it. So for example, what we're going to do is we're going to start with A less than B. What can we do? Well, the only really thing we can do is add A to both sides. So we'll get A plus A is less than B plus A, pretty naturally. Now we can write this as 2A is less than B plus A, and we can divide by 2 to get A is less than B plus A divided by 2. Perfect. Now we're going to do this again, except what's the other thing we could do is add B. So now we have A plus B is less than B plus B. This turns into A plus B is less than 2B. And when we divide by 2, again, we get A plus B over 2 is less than B. Hence, we can say, if you see this, we have this together, so now we can just write A is less than A plus B over 2 is less than B. And this is the fact that we wanted to prove, that if you're given two numbers, one less than the other, that the average is in between. So this is just a very basic proof idea, and you really want to explain your steps thoroughly. So this is a scratch proof, but it's an example of what math majors do all day.
Let's go to the surface, and let's start from a point B.
All right, guys, so that's what it's like to be a math major at Rutgers University, New Brunswick. Thank you for watching. See you next time.